Hi everyone, so today I want to share a few things with you that I purchased I think last week. So it was two different orders, one from Amazon and the other was from Jackson's Art, which I'll tell you which one is what. And I'm sorry about my voice. It's still not 100% back since that cold that I had, and it's really annoying, but it's quite funny at the same time because the other YouTubers that I watch regularly, they say exactly the same thing, like your voice is just not there. So let's start with the Amazon haul. So on Amazon I purchased three things, and first of all, these two I have already actually showed you a little demo of in my previous video, so if you want to see them in action you can do that. However, I will do a separate video on this particular paint, Daniel Smith Green Appetite Genuine, just to show you exactly how the watercolor behaves, because it's from their Primatech range, so it's a real stone or rock that is ground up and made into a pigment. So I will show you quickly. If you haven't seen yesterday's video, that's basically what it looks like. A bit of a mess when you're working wet and wet, so I wouldn't recommend that because it really separates heavily into two colors. But if you look just at this swatch right here, then you get an idea of what it looks like. But like I said, stay tuned for a separate review or a demo. Now, this is the frog tape which I actually used in my illustration. Briefly show you that as well in case you haven't seen or you're new to the channel. So that's the illustration I've done. I actually ended up covering it up a little bit with tracing paper just because I hate it when I work with pencils and they transfer to the other page, so I had to cover that up. So basically, to get these crisp line on the framed piece of painting, I used the frog tape and it really worked well. So there are two types. There's a green one and there is this yellow one, which is a low tag. So I haven't tried the green, but the yellow seems to be says here for delicate surface, so it seems to work really well. I had no issues of it damaging the paper in any way, so that was great. It comes in a packaging which I wanted to show you before I throw it away. The packaging is a little bit annoying because it's very bulky and very chunky. It's like a tin, like a plastic tin, and I'm not sure why it needs, you know, such a big packaging of plastic if it's just a roll of masking tape. But that's what it comes as. If you want to buy it, that's what it looks like. So I've got those on Amazon. I'll leave the links below. And the third item I got from Amazon as well is this book, The Essence of Watercolour, and it's by Hazel Soan. So I actually found this book on someone who I started following recently. I discovered this French lady. She does watercolor. If you like Liz Steele, I think you really would like this lady. So her channel is called Following the White Rabbit, and she's super fun to watch. I've seen this book on her channel and it looked really good because it sort of is a style that I'm currently interested in, that's sort of like a loose style. So that's just to give you an idea. I'm not going to do a flip through because I want to do a separate book review on this, but just to get you to understand what the style of this is. Okay, I'll show you one more. And mainly there are some really beautiful figure drawings. They're just really, really pretty, and I want to learn how to watercolor like that, so hence why I got this book. And finally, these items I got on Jackson's Art, so I'll link those as well. Sorry, the pencils always make so much noise when you pick them up. So I got 6 pencils. So these are the Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils, and they are in skin tones. So basically I have seen a lot of watercolor artists use some pencils as well, and I really like that as a mixed media kind of project. But I've never been a huge fan of pencils, and although lately I'm trying to incorporate pencils in my watercolor drawings and I like it, you know, I kind of was considering to get a big pack of the Polychromos pencils, but because I have already so many art supplies, I wasn't sure if I'm going to really use them. So I thought I'll just pick out pencils of the shades that I want to start with and see how I get on. If I like them, I can always get more pencils or get a set in the end. But basically here are the colors that I got. So I've got the a white, I've got ivory, then I have what's this one? So I've got cinnamon, I've got light flesh, and this should be medium flesh, and this one is dark flesh, which is quite intriguing because it looks very pink to me, so I'm not quite sure how that would be a skin color, or let alone a dark skin color. So I'm going to swatch them and let's see what they look like. So the great thing about Polychromos is that they're wax-based pencil, and it means that you can layer them very well and you can mix them that way really well. So the reason I got the white, obviously it's not a skin tone, but it's great for highlights and also maybe lightening certain areas as well. So let's do the swatches. I'm not going to swatch the white one just because there's no point, you're not really going to see it, but I'm going to start with the ivory. Actually, I'm going to swatch them in a face shape. I like the fact that there is not much residue of the pencil, because if the pencil is dry rather than a wax-based pencil, then it gives you a lot of residue when you draw with it, which is, I find, very off-putting always, and that's what made me feel like I didn't want to use pencils. But now that I have these, I'm kind of more pro pencils, but we'll see. So this one is cinnamon. It's a nice color, very true to what I thought it would be like. This is a textured paper I'm using here. I always leave these days all the links to the art supplies that I'm using in the videos so that you can have a look and see exactly what I'm using. So this is the Jane Davenport canvas journal. Now I'm going to move on to the light flash. So of course, for drawing faces, if you're going for a more realistic look rather than sketchy, you would have to go, you would have to use a hot pressed smooth paper, because you probably don't want your face to have little marks like that. You want it to be as smooth as possible. Next one is the medium flash. So this one is already pulling quite a bit towards a pink. So this would have to be mixed quite a bit, not just be used on its own. So that's a medium flash. So that would be a great kind of like a cheek color, or possibly yeah, like a blush color. That would be great. So this one is the dark flash, which I'm curious about. Okay, so it's not a color that I expected at all. I thought that would be a dark skinned color, which it is not. I was kind of thinking it would be going more towards this color, but darker, more deeper. But it's actually a very pinky color and definitely a blush color, unless you would layer them. So let me try and just layer them as well. So I'm going to, because I'm particularly interested in this color, how I could make it a skin tone, I'm just going to try and see how they blend. I'm going to go into the cinnamon. They feel really great. I have never enjoyed actually pencils as much. The pencils I used to, or the pencils that I ever have tried and never really loved, are just those regular dry pencils. So there's a little bit of residue now starting to come off from the second layer, but having blended them too, you can see that it starts to look a little bit more what I need it to look. So how about if I go with a light flash just to neutralize that pink. Yeah, so this could be a skin color, still more on a warm toned kind of pinkish rather than the other, but let's see. I'm going to go actually back into the cinnamon. I really like the cinnamon for a skin tone, and I want to see what the white pencil would do. The other thing I like about these pencils is that they're round, because some pencils can be like this, you know, slanted, and I find them harder to work with for a long time because I tend to press a lot with my pencils, and so they really kind of hurt your finger after a while. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Caran d'Ache is that shape, which I'm not too keen on. Okay, so let's imagine I'm going to do one half with this white pencil. Beautiful, look at that. It's just really like buttery. It's not just sitting on top, it's actually blending with the color underneath. Very pretty. Let's try and do the same here, keeping in mind I already have quite a few layers here, so just want to see how much further I can take it. So this 3, I think this is the 4th one that I'm using on top, and it still is working quite well. But at this point you won't be able to apply anything else, just because it is starting to become very smooth. The texture of the paper has been sort of like polished with the pencil. But let me try and do a square here just to see whether I can. No, it's still going, my goodness. Even though it's quite polished, I still can apply another layer. So this would be officially the 5th one. That's pretty amazing. Okay, so they're quite fun. I might consider buying a bigger set, but to be honest with you, I might just extend sort of my pinks or greens or blues rather than buy a set which will have colors that I don't tend to use, like purples, very specific colors I like. Anyway, so those are the swatches. The other thing, or the last thing I want to share, is this silver black velvet brush. I finally decided to get it after a lot of consideration, because there is I've seen so many great reviews about this brush, and it is a little bit on the expensive side, but you know, I'm just buying one brush and I'll try to use it and treat it in a good way so that they last long. But the thing that straight away I have noticed, the ferrule of the brush is actually sticking out quite a bit. So if you would go like this, it catches quite a bit, because comparing it to, say, for example, Princeton Heritage, it doesn't have it as strong. So if I would hold it right where the ferrule starts and the handle continues, I wouldn't feel it as much. However, here, if I do that, I do feel it quite a bit, especially if you're someone who's going to do a lot of this movement. This part is going to wrap on this finger, so ideally you are supposed to hold the brush quite further on, so at its thickest part here. However, if you're someone who likes a little bit more control over your brush and you like to hold it somewhere here, then you might not like that. I personally don't like it, but I will do a separate video where I will swatch it out. This is a round size 8, which is a perfect brush size for me. It's got black bristles. I will give you all the info in a full review, so that's just a quick haul video. So that is it. Thanks for watching and see you soon.